Welcome to My Love of Life Energy. I'm Anna Scott, your host. I love beautiful, rich conversations that reveal the truth, beauty, and uniqueness of each person I meet, and I'm honored to share them with you. Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to my podcast, My Love of Life Energy. And today I'm honored and delighted to have Lesley Ames. Welcome, Lesley.
Hello, thank you.
Lesley is a fellow psychic buddy, and she is a psychic medium and an animal communicator. And I met Lesley, I think, 2 years ago in the Art of the Seer and fell madly in love with you and fell madly in love with my readings with you. And you are a true, just beautiful, beautiful psychic medium. It's always a privilege to sit with you. I'm curious, how did you start this, or what made you begin this journey?
First of all, it's always so wonderful sitting in front of you because you always have such beautiful things to say about me that make me uncomfortable. But that's what this psychic work kind of does is put the mirror in front of us that we need to see in order to deepen our own journeys, right? And so that's kind of how I got started with psychic meditation is I was wanting to something was missing and I was looking for something. And I always knew that meditation was something that if only I had a consistent, daily practice,
Mhm.
everything would be solved. And granted, that was ten years ago. Not everything has been solved, but I do have a daily practice now. And so much has been lifted around carrying the burden of just energy that we don't need to carry. And that's really what is unique about psychic meditation is looking at the energy we're carrying, releasing it so that we can live lighter lives.
Mm. So there's about three things you've said in that fascinate me. And one is I'm curious about your practice. Like you just said something, and I can feel there's a commitment in your practice of your daily meditation. Like you just claimed it. I have this. And I'm
I do I do have it. If I don't meditate, if I don't run energy, if I don't, whatever tools I use that day, and they do vary because my practice has evolved, in different ways, but if I don't do something around starting my day with sitting and being still and really traveling along taking this journey inward and connecting to my consciousness in a way to look at what it is that either I'm handling or what it is that I just want to experience in that moment. And it sets such a beautiful foundation for the day and it brings a lot more ease. So regarding a daily practice, I don't know why it was so difficult before psychic meditation. I had been to Thailand and with silent, the Vipassana retreats, explored Zen meditation, other meditation practices, but there was something about psychic meditation that just kind of clicked to have a daily practice. And I think part of it is because when you are in psychic meditation, you're actively clearing energy. And that is just feels so validating regarding sitting and being still, when in reality, you're actually actively doing something.
mm.
It's
What
like
what have
cleaning,
you
it's like cleaning the house, right?
oh
That's
my
basically
God.
what it is.
You've just sold me. Like I do 10 minutes a day. I do meditate. But what you just said so delighted me. Because who doesn't love a clean house?
That's all that meditation I mean, it's not all that it is, but it's a way to get started is to just do your daily chores, and part of it is meditation.
So, what have you gotten to have out of having this daily practice?
That feels like a loaded question. Um, I think that so where my journey began was with psychic meditation, and that led to astral projection and a wider understanding of what is out there, the unseen, what we can explore. And then that led to mediumship in being able to channel what type of energy we want, what energy do we want to channel? It's not just about connecting to lost ancestors or people that have passed, but mediumship really opened the door to recognizing that we can channel the energy we choose and running that through us. So there are so many different layers of psychic meditation and psychic work that it really is so fun. What I get to have is just it's like this game that never ends, and that's what I get to have is because it's so fun. I think one of the reasons why you and I enjoy reading each other is because we both tap into these past lives that are so alive and deep and rich. And, what do you get to have out of reading a past life? It's so fun. And it's a great story to entertain yourself with, but while at the same time, something shifts internally. There's an energy that just shifts. And I'll just say one other thing. So after all of that, where that all led me to was animal communication. And I always get a little emotional talking about it because my dog Stanley, who died last year, he's the one that really led me to it. And you can find more about my animal communication practice, and I write about Stanley on my website. But when he died, he was 17, and he's the one that really catapulted me into at the astral and communicating with our animals and the wisdom that they have to share with us regarding the world that we live in and how to be in it, and even recognizing like what is how like his personality just blossomed once I started communicating with him. He had a dry wit sense of humor that I just didn't, how do we know that our animals have these, kind of dry wit personalities, or every animal is different? And so you asked a very simple question that I said was very loaded. And it's just every day a new layer opens up around psychic meditation and animal communication to deepen our relationship with ourselves, but with all other people.
It seems like with all of life.
Yeah.
You, for people who are listening, are not going to know what the astral plane is my guess. So, would you mind just for if somebody's listening and goes, well, what is the astral plane? They can Google it, but I'd also like it to hear it from you.
So I don't know if I have an answer to that. Um, because even this year, I keep asking Claude about, about the astral, and I keep asking Stanley about the astral, and I just finished a astral projection workshop on top of other experiences that I had. And it's really the astral the is it the energy? It's different layers of consciousness
Mm.
that we are able to explore and
Mm.
experience. And those layers, I think that's such a hard question. I might be the wrong person to ask that.
No, but I mean, Leslie, it's when you said it, it actually made sense to me. But what I see you doing is you're going inside yourself and exploring it and then seeing what you see.
I guess to me, it's different layers of consciousness
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
exploring that. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember doing a reading with you about Stanley, and I didn't know, I just saw this dog, and it turned out to be Stanley. And I will never forget that reading because I think the dog said to me, like, you're looking in the wrong place, or was something like that, or that message. And what a profound character he was. I don't even know the language. I think is the right word.
He definitely is and still is. He's
Is,
still
yeah.
and he's just keeps getting more of a character the more I explore with him. And he has become very much a guide in my life.
So what made you go? Was it Stanley that made you go to? I met you at the end of your mediumship training, and then you went into the animal communication. And is he the one that invited you on that journey?
So before mediumship training, Stanley had, I think it was even before I stepped into the psychic meditation world. Stanley was chewing his paws, and I couldn't figure out why. And you know, I did everything possible from looking at food to having, looking at allergies, even going to a specialist to try to figure out why is he chewing his paws, and no one could answer the question. And it's one of those things where three, in three different instances, someone said, "Have you tried an animal communicator?" And I was not even, it was just in the back of my mind. And it was on the third time, I'm like, well, maybe I should try that. And of course, somebody happened to know someone, and immediately I made that connection. And what was so profound about that experience was it wasn't just about Stanley, it was about me and what I
Hmm.
was handling in that moment as well. And so it was about the relationship that we were having together and the energy he was handling of mine. But also, he had said, he hadn't intended for it to become such a problem. Like it was just that conversation around how it happened, why it's happening, his anxiety around my anxiety. And I have to say, after thousands of dollars of vet visits, that one animal communication session, everything, he stopped chewing his paws and everything resolved itself and we moved forward. So that was the beginning, really. And
My God, Leslie, that's amazing.
yeah, and so it really got me curious about what else can I talk to him about? You know? And
And oh my
so
God, wow, that's profound.
huh. So he had he was a miniature schnauzer and he was prone to some fairly for some serious digestive issues like pancreatitis and hemorrhagic gastroenteritis, which sent me to the ER um, often. And and I think the next phase of deepening my communication with him was driving to the ER and asking him how he was doing. And I remember one day we were on the way to the ER, it's usually at midnight, and he was in the back seat. And I said, "So, how are you doing?" And he's like, "Just call me Serena Williams. Let's just, I have the endurance and strength of Serena Williams. Let's just get through this and get back home." And I just busted out laughing because when we arrived at the ER, he walked me through those sliding glass doors with such confidence, knowing he just needed to get some fluids and whatever medication he needed and to return home. Like it was so
Wow,
clear that he
Lesley.
knew what he needed to do. And what was beautiful about that for me and why that communication was important was I didn't have to worry about him because he said he's got this.
Oh, Lesley. So you got to have a completely different experience with him.
And it just continued to evolve from there. Yeah, and that yeah, it just continued to evolve from there.
Wow. You, would you mind sharing your experience? You went on, and I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I remember reading a piece that you wrote about your journey with the whales and your experience
Yeah,
with the whales.
yeah. So I'm gonna just ground myself to be able to talk about this because I left for Tonga the day after I said goodbye to Stanley.
Mm.
And that trip was planned 3 years before he died. I didn't know why I needed to go. I didn't know. It just is a trip. I used to travel often. So, in many ways, it wasn't unusual for me to book a trip to Tonga. But on the other hand, I hadn't traveled for quite a while. I received an email regarding the opportunity to go photograph the whales in Tonga. And I thought, this is a great opportunity to just put a carrot in front of me and set that goal. But little did I know that those 3 years were going to be around holding space for Stanley's transition as well as mine and saying goodbye. So it was kind of a bittersweet trip because when I arrived, I had said goodbye to Stanley and I had the next 2 weeks to connect, photograph the whales. And the first, I had never, done anything like this before. I am a photographer and I enjoy nature photography. And I do like, I, I do have a personality to just jump into things without knowing what I'm getting into. And you can read more about it on my blog, the story of some of that. But I think that what was so special about that, especially after Stanley had died, and being an animal communicator at the same time, was the very first drop of jumping into the waters of, you know, around Tonga. And I left my camera behind on that first drop. And it wasn't a good opportunity to photograph anyway, but we ended up coming across a whale that was singing. Like the way when whales sing, they have their heads down and their tails up. And so what was fascinating about it was when you're floating there, the whole song just vibrates through you. And since I was an animal communicator, I thought, here's the opportunity to ask, what message do you have for us as humans or or for me? And the answer was just love, love, love. And that is what I really connect with what everything that I communicated with Stanley about before he died was around love. And um and that was the same message from the whales. And I don't think it was a coincidence. I think that animals are really trying to teach us something that we haven't quite allowed us to receive.
Mm, mm. That's so beautiful. I mean, how big can the love be?
Yeah, I think I say that in my blog post is love as big as a whale. That it's just, yeah, it's something beautiful.
Mm. And now you go out into the I know I know what I've seen about you, but I don't know you. Like so I get little like snippets of stories and you go walk in nature quite a bit and you live by some kind of lake, I believe.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's such a great timing to this question because yesterday, um, I get up in the morning, sometimes before sunrise, but lately it's been just a little after, and there's a beautiful lake and forested walk to, take either. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes I'm out there meditating, but I really start my day in nature. And I arrived at this little dock at the lake and I'm just scanning it. And this lake is so beautiful. It just happened. I'm in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. So it was cool in the morning and you could see the morning mist moving across the lake still. And the sky was clear, but the lake is also a mirror. So it's reflecting everything exactly symmetrical that it has against it. And I'm sitting there and I'm just watching and I'm like, what is that? Across, like, this is so far across the lake and it's an eagle. I
Oh.
was shocked. It's this eagle sitting on top of a beaver lodge and this place that I walk to is this it's just this it's a magical surprise every day. I was
Mm.
telling you before we started talking about the crows and being surrounded by a group of crows walking through the forest and listening to them and really trying to receive what their message is. And the other day it was about just to stop and pay attention and to experience that stillness and that silence rather than just walking down the trail. There's so much more around us than what we stop to experience. So the wildlife and the animals, I feel fortunate to be near this lake that I can connect with every day, connect with the wildlife, connect with the trees, the reflections of the lake, and also Mount Rainier. On that path is a beautiful mountain that some days it's fascinating that some days it hides behind the clouds, and other days it stands so bright and majestic. Um, but just paying
I,
attention to nature is a big part of my life.
well, it's interesting. You made a big transition. When I met you, you were living in Chicago and
Mm.
you paid attention to your nature, what I would say, what was true for you, and you uprooted yourself and moved.
Yeah, yes, I did. I lived in a wonderful neighborhood called Andersonville, in Chicago. It's been rated the second best neighborhood in the world. I shouldn't even announce that because I feel like since it got that reputation, it's just like
Everybody wants it.
everyone wants in. But what made it so wonderful was the kind of the it was very much like Mayberry, where the community of people, everybody knew each other, everyone had an animal, you met them because of your dogs. There are coffee
Mm.
shops that you sit and say hello. People stop, strangers stop and you say hello, or just everything. You don't have to get in a car, you can exist in this neighborhood. And so it was a big deal to uproot myself. I had been there for 30 years and I had started exploring. I knew something wasn't feeling right, but I didn't know that anything could be better than where I was. So it was a hard change to leave. But now that I'm here in nature and really deepening my practice, I can't imagine being anywhere else than I am right now. And nature in the Pacific Northwest is exactly what I need right now.
Well, it's beautiful how this is the thing about psychic to me is that you begin to listen and see. And I think it's listening and seeing the signals inside of you of what to do. And I watched you honor yourself through that transition.
Yeah, I think, it was the last 3 years of it was 3 years of mediumship training, and so you're really going deep. Um, and in some ways, I think it took 3 years to really let go of whatever it was that was keeping me there and to listen to, yeah, just listen to what is in the moment and trust yourself to follow what that moment is, even though you don't know where it's going.
So one of the things about for people who are listening, like and go, why should I do a psychic reading? Like, what does a psychic reading give me? Because you talk about mediumship, and here's an example. But why would somebody like? What's the benefit of it? Like, what? Why go to a psychic reading rather than? I mean, just what's the benefit? Because from your point of view,
Um,
I know my point of view, but what's your point of view?
um, I mean, I think that the best way for me to answer that is to kind of explain a recent kind of journey. Somebody came to me for a pet psychic reading, and that was specifically around helping their animal get comfortable with going to the vet. And because it usually was looked like something that, that the animal was resistant always to going to the vet and was always stressed. And so with an animal communication reading, it's about communicating with the animal, finding out what's really going on. What can we do to help ease that experience of getting in the car and going to the vet, being put under anesthesia, and returning home? And like looking at the emotional and spiritual energy around that and hearing what the animal has to say. So we had that session, and there's always so much more. It's never a direct answer, but there's always so much in the session. But after that, the person followed up with me and said everything shifted. Her animal was calm. It was such a beautiful experience. They were in alignment. And when she got home, all of a sudden, her cat, her cat, ran out the door with sutures and partially drugged, and so it created this huge stress reaction, right? And and so that led into a lost pet communication to find out what's going on. And then that led to and the cat did come back home and the cat is fine. But then that led to a human psychic reading to kind of deepen just looking at some of the things in life that we can't quite put our finger on and to look deeper. And once you start looking deeper at what that energy is that you can't quite explain, for some reason, a psychic reading or a past life reading or, clairvoyant reading, it, it's, you're able to put a story or a name on that energy and say hello to it and let it go. And
Yeah.
so, you know, that's kind of a long answer, but that's how I see things. It's never just one thing, but it is about just saying hello to the energy that you can't put a name on sometimes so that you can
That's
let it
beautiful.
go. Yeah.
And then have choice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lesley, we have come to the end. I can't thank you enough. Where do people find you if they would like to have a psychic reading or an animal communication reading? Where do they
Yeah,
find you?
just visit leslieames.com. That's Leslie with an EY. And I write often about my adventures with Stanley or with in about animal communication, and I'm starting to write about the astral too, if you want to stay in touch regarding that.
Great. Well, Lesley, I know you're a beautiful writer because I've loved what I've read. Absolutely beautiful. It's just been a joy. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for being
much.
with me.
Thanks for having me.